Thank you for joining us at the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivey, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research. RPG Research is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, 100% volunteer-led. Nobody makes a dime here. In fact, I couldn't afford a dime. But the most important thing is we research role-playing games in all formats for their possible benefits and occasional dangers.
Yeah.
And we will talk about those. But we also want to use them for educational, therapeutic, entertainment, and leisure activities. And if you don't know the difference between entertainment and leisure, ask us, and we will answer that in an upcoming show.
Yep. Now, this is going into the just chatting section, and I feel like there's a pressing matter that we need to bring up, and right off the top of my head.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh,
yes.
The fez.
The fez, yes.
Yeah.
Unusual fashion choice, some people might think. But there is a reason that I'm wearing a fez. One, it has been my, not moniker, it's my trademark for quite a while.
Okay, I know that I've worked with you for a while, and you even have like a little mini that someone found because in all the conventions that you've run or ran in, you tend to wear your fez.
I do, and the basic reason for wearing the fez was so that people would be able to say, who's in charge here? That guy, the one with the fez. With the red fez. Now, unfortunately, fezes are popular, so sometimes other people are there. He says, no, not that fez, not the one with the dragon on it.
Yeah.
That one. And the symbol on here, which is for Call of Cthulhu, is one that I replace whenever I'm doing something else.
Okay. So you switch it out.
I switch it out all the time for whatever the show is I'm doing, or etc. Now, there have been questions about fez.
Yeah.
First questions I ever got when I started wearing the fez, I had people going up, fezes are cool. You're obviously playing Doctor Who.
Oh, is that a reference? I'm not a Whovian, so.
Yeah, you know what a Whovian is.
Yeah, I know. Some cultural references are pressed upon me against my will. Yes.
Yes. So, Doctor Who, the 14th Doctor, I believe it was, or the 11th Doctor, one of the Doctors between 8 and now, wore a fez, and he said it was fezes were cool. He said bow ties are cool.
Yeah.
He put on a cowboy hat and said cowboy hats are cool, and it got shot off his head. In fact,
there's a joke there.
The funniest thing was the fez was only seen in one episode.
Really?
Yeah, and it got shot too, but it wasn't.
So you keep on putting on hats and they keep on getting shot off.
Well, she took the hat, the fez, threw it up in the air and shot the fez. But then it became a signature for him. Not that he ever wore it again in the show, but as a cultural reference to him. I also got referred to as Grunkle Stan.
I do like me some Gravity Falls.
Yes. In fact, we just yesterday were looking over the real Gravity Falls.
Oh dear God, I'm about to get into conspiracy theories. Okay.
No, it was a roadside attraction that was used to base Gravity Falls on.
I know.
And they have some artwork from the show actually there, and fan art and stuff like that.
That's wonderful.
But they don't have a lot of things because it is still the original.
They need to have a mystery shack.
It is a mystery shack.
And people need to go there and just get ripped off.
I can't say that.
That is the most accurate thing for them to do. Because that's what happened in the show.
Yes, that's what happened in the show. No, I've also been asked, isn't that a religious thing? Or isn't that...
well, I know that you wear it religiously, but that's a different statement.
Right.
Yeah.
It has been worn by Muslims, Muslim Brotherhood. It has also been worn by the Shriners and other fraternal orders.
Okay.
In fact, the reason Grunkle Stan wore it was because he was in a fraternal brotherhood. If you're old enough to remember the Flintstones, he wore a fez.
Yes, he did.
With horns. The sacred
Order of the
buffalo or something like that.
Yeah, which I think was I think a reference to the Elk Lodge.
Yes. So the fezzes have been around for a long time. The actual word in Arabic is tarbouche. Fez, it's one of the reasons it's called a Fez is because there's a city called Fez, which was a Moroccan city.
Okay, so basically, it is cultural, but it's not kind of like head coverings. It's not necessarily isolated to one culture.
Right.
So, for example, a lot of people consider like the hijab and whatnot and that head covering as being Muslim. Yet, if you compare it to nuns, which are Catholic, they're kind of wearing that too.
Right.
Yeah.
But those are specific types of head coverings. The habit versus the hijab serve the exact same purpose, but have different names and come from different cultures. The Fez, in fact, I better double check. Yeah, it's in the right spot. I had a Turkish man come up to me and mention, "Oh, you're wearing a tarbouche." And he says, "If you don't mind, I need to touch." And he grabbed my
That's cool.
dazzle here, and he put it over right here. And he says, "This is the correct way to wear it. Always this way, not the other direction, and definitely never in the front."
Okay.
So
you were able to ask him what the significance of that was?
it's the way it's worn.
Okay.
That was his saying.
Okay,
This
fine.
is how
That's
it's
fine.
worn.
That's fine.
It is designed for hot weather clients because you build up sweat around the brow, you pick it off, it cools off as things.
So basically, you can take it off, and steam comes out, and you check on your rice, and you put it back on.
Traditional colors are red, white, and black.
Okay.
I've seen purple ones.
I kind of think you can have it in any color if you want, but tradition is red, white, and black.
Yes, I've seen people with purple ones. I've seen them with embroidery on them in all kinds of different patterns and things. They're used all over the place. The military has used them in many companies. Modern use, Arab countries use them. In Southwest Asia, they're used. South Africa, they're generally used. They're used for many fraternities, Shriners, International Order of Amphra, Knights of Peter Claver, and they're wearing blue fezzes.
Okay.
Royal Order of Mooses, second degree body, and they wear a purple fez.
Okay.
But in popular culture, British comedian Tommy Cooper used it as part of his comic act. And this was during the Second World things. It was Cooper's hallmark. Fans of the English rugby team, Saracens, often wear fezzes to matches.
Okay.
And the British science fiction series Doctor Who, 11th Doctor Matt Smith wore the fez. And the pop group Madness often wore fezzes. So my only problem with wearing the fez is that people have to identify my fez over somebody else's.
Now, I mean, I think it looks good on you.
Thank you very much. I was going to wax my mustache, but my wax died.
I mean, I know that for me, I don't wear many hats. It's not because I don't like hats, but one, my hair tends to cause me issues with hats. But also, the type of hat that I prefer is difficult for me to get.
What kind is that?
Australian slouch hat.
Oh,
I like the asymmetrical.
I'm not sure why that's hard to get. Just go down to any Halloween store.
Because I want it to last.
So, have we any questions on here? Yes, bow ties are cool. I was thinking about wearing my bow tie just because of that comment. Bow ties are cool. And I was going to wear my rainbow bow tie.
Okay.
I have all kinds of bow ties. I don't have a white tie, though. I need one. But then I'd have to get the old tuxedo.
I don't know that reference.
You don't know what a white tie event is?
No, I don't.
Okay, so when you go to an event, and it's a black tie event, you're wearing black tuxes or traditional navy.
I know a black tie event, yeah.
Right. So if you want to go one level higher, see these also in the military. You want one level higher than a black tie event, it's a white tie event. And you might be wearing a white tuxedo. This is the most highest prim and proper outfit you can do.
Because it's hard to maintain a white suit.
and it also shows that you have somebody taking care of you to have such a nice, pristine outfit.
I don't have enough money to even imagine that.
Yeah, money's no object because I can't touch it.
I mean, I can touch my bills, and they care about money.
Right. Okay, so we talked a little bit about the culture of the Fez, and we've talked actually in our role-playing games. We introduce culture in many ways.
Yeah, and you've heard me talk about how I like injecting culture into many cultures already established in specifically like Dungeons and Dragons to, I feel, make those cultures more robust in my eyes.
Okay, so you base your lizard folk on a real-world
Culture. Actually, two.
So what are they again?
So I tend to I've injected Polynesian concepts into my lizard folk as well as Shinto religion.
Okay. So,
but heavy on the Polynesian, light on the Shinto.
How does that manifest on a visual for your lizard folk? When somebody walks up and sees one of your lizard folks the first time, what are they wearing, if anything?
Okay, so there's a couple of things.
Okay.
One, and this is the primary reason, the lizard folk was the first one that, race culture in D&D that I did this with. Because I was unhappy with the way lizard folk were being portrayed. Because the standard out of the Monsters Manual is they have an alien mindset, which how are you supposed to empathize with that other than not supposed to empathize? And if you're not empathizing with them, I don't think that's interesting. Also,
they make terrible player characters then.
Exactly.
And it is a player character choice in Dungeons and Dragons, and who knows, maybe Call of Cthulhu.
So one of the things that I did was I took a look at, okay, what do they do? Lizard folk are tribal. They tend to live near large bodies of waters, and they exercise cannibalism.
Right.
And, well, cannibalism is a taboo in our culture. But human culture has many different flavors.
Right.
There's a joke there. And some of them do...
Yeah, that joke's right up there with clowns taste funny.
Yeah. There are some human cultures that exercise cannibalism.
Yes.
And I looked into some of them, and I realized that there are certain historical evidence for certain Polynesian cultures for exercising cannibalism. And it isn't just, oh, we eat humans. There were traditional, reasons and, religious reasons for doing this. There was a method behind it. Just like, the Aztecs, practiced human sacrifice. But it wasn't just, oh, we're gonna, sacrifice Fred on this day. There were reasons behind it. And I wanted to get into the minutiae of why was cannibalism occurring.
Right. As opposed to the idea that how many different cultures have been accused of cannibalism.
Correct.
Because that makes them an other.
And I actually come from a country where that has been that accusation
was used.
That accusation has been levied against it.
Right.
The Carib tribes of the Caribbean, which is what the Caribbean is named after, those Carib tribes were accused of cannibalism. And I'm from Jamaica.
Right.
Yeah. But we do know that Polynesian culture, some Polynesian culture, not all, did exercise cannibalism.
Right.
And it was them consumed, as I understand it, they were consuming the strength of others.
So my question was, how do they...
How does it manifest?
How does it manifest when I see one of your cannibalistic Polynesian ones? Are they wearing feathers? Are they...
So I wanted to set that down
right
so that I could get into this.
Okay.
One and me looking up Polynesian stuff, I thought like there's a lot of culture here. I don't want to steal it, but I do want to represent it respectfully. So,
and we're going to get into stealing culture in just a second. Go ahead with that.
So I'm still working on this because I don't want to use Polynesian tattoos because that is their specific specific culture, but there is a language in, as I understand it, in Polynesian tattoos.
Right.
So
A lot of cultures have tattoos.
Right, but from what I understand, there are actual like stories and messages and whatnot in the tattoos.
Yep.
And I wanted something like that on my lizard folk. So they have tattoos. They
Okay.
have tattoos that in my game, it would be for example, lizard folk tattoo is a language.
Okay.
Yeah,
It's a form of written language.
it's a form of written language. Kind of, it's also a secret language like Druidic.
Okay,
If you-
so
yeah.
let me give an example. Maui?
Yeah,
So am I saying her name right? Moali?
Moana.
Moana.
Yeah.
So in Moana,
Yep.
the demigod that shows up has all these tattoos over it.
Yes.
But every tattoo is a story.
Yes.
So the lizard folks have every tattoo is a story
Yes.
that they're telling. This is the first chicken I killed.
Well, not only that, but I also have, for example, their station in their tribe. You can tell by their tattoo,
Right.
but only if you know how to speak it.
Right. If you understand lizard tattoo, which is a separate language than draconic,
Correct.
which the lizard folks speak anyways.
Yes. Then, based off of that tattoo, that's the chief, even though he's hiding it, because he's expecting the city folk to be ignorant
Right.
and thinking that we are stupid.
The guy with the big feathers, he must be the chief. No, it's the guy with that particular tattoo.
Also, if you come across a tribe and they see you, they may institute a haka, the tribal dance.
Ah,
Yeah.
that has got to be really interesting to see in
Lizard
dragon
folk doing
form.
it.
Yeah, lizard folk.
Because I thought, the minute I started, okay, I want
Not
to be
just stomping their feet, but slapping their
Yeah, I
tail.
know. And it is impressive. It really is impressive. And I felt I don't want just monsters. I want people to realize this is a culture.
I want you to run Sinister Secret of Salt Marsh and change the lizard folk.
Into the Polynesians.
Yeah.
Also, and this is because I grew up in the, if you remember in the 90s, there was a lot of shirts with iguanodon,
Yeah.
and he surfed. Yeah, the lizard folk surf.
Okay, why not?
Yeah, it's modified shields.
If they use a canoe, their oars are weapons.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm introducing Shintoism because, well, I don't want to just pull from one. There's a saying, if you just pull from one, then it's theft. If you pull from many, then it's innovation. Well, Shintoism, I wanted the aspect of them seeing spirits in everything.
Sure.
Spirits in you, spirits in me, spirits in the rock, and those spirits have personalities that they learn. So it is a form of animism.
Right.
And that does delve into the perceiving strength in many things, and if they want it, then they consume it. So as I mentioned, the cannibalism is just one aspect of that religion.
Got it.
And they would see, and they would mark off like, okay, that tree has a personality. That tree houses a spirit.
Spoiler alert for
Yep.
anybody who hasn't played Sinister Secret of Saltmarsh, the second module, Danger at Dunwater,
Yeah.
that was written in the early 80s.
You're better at that date than I am.
Yeah, I'm sure Hearth, our wonderful person, can tell us when that was done.
But
The point is, as a spoiler, one of the things was that the heroes have to go after a excessively large crocodile.
yeah.
And the reason the heroes have to do it is because of their religious belief. They can't harm the crocodile, despite the fact that the crocodile is eating lizard folk. So they have to get the heroes to take care of it for them. When what is done? When was Danger at Dunwater
Published.
published? The original.
Let me look that up.
Trenton, I'm having difficulties understanding what you're saying.
Danger. Danger, Will Robinson.
Oh,
Act.
let me write it down for you. I'll be all right. I'm going to step off screen for just a moment.
All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to introduce our next topic, which does spring from the previous topic when we were talking about stealing culture or utilizing culture in our role-playing games. Lot
You said danger at
in Dunwater.
Dunwater.
It is at Dunwater, yeah. Dunwater. 1982.
Oh, yeah. 1982.
Okay, so yeah, that is definitely the 80s.
Yeah. Oh, you had to bring up Lost in Space. Only reason that I go shock and Lost in
I
Space.
heard Dunwater and Danger Will Robinson.
Got it. Okay, Lost in Space is interesting because right now, at the same time Lost in Space was out, was a show called Space 1999. Written back in the days when 1999 was in the future. And yeah, Space 1999 is becoming a RPG.
Okay.
I'm surprised Lost in Space isn't already an RPG, but
Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if there is. Just it's probably not as well known as the big ones that we know of.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the Smurfs are coming out soon as an RPG.
Okay. Okay.
Planet of the Apes. And it incorporates all the modern movies and all the television shows and old movies.
Here's a tough question.
Yeah.
Is it going to incorporate the stuff done by Tim Burton?
Yes.
Oh, that's.
Did Tim Burton do a...
Yes, he did.
Well, then yes. Because it's all the Planet of the Apes stuff got put into this thing.
It's the one that a lot of people forget about.
So, what I wanted to get into when we're talking about the
Stealing cultures.
Yeah, there was a article in N-World,
Yeah, Emerald.
RPG Evolution, inspiration from Bari. Now, Bari is in Italy,
Yeah.
and one of our favorite writers, authors for N-World and other things, Michael Tresca, who's a member of the CarPGA. He is writes a bunch of articles on World, and he went and visited Bari, Italy, and he has his whole article there on incorporating elements of the city into his own campaign.
Okay.
This includes religious iconography. Now, which brought up into my mind the use of real-world religions in your role-playing game.
Yeah.
First of all, I do want to point out that if you're playing at your home, not broadcasting your game,
Yeah.
do what you want as long as everybody's consenting.
Yep.
Be more careful and more accurate if you're doing broadcast or you're writing things for publication.
Yeah. The minute it has a chance of going out into the public, then there are other implications.
So there have been role-playing games based on Christianity.
Yes.
There have been Dungeons and Dragons characters and gods that definitely suggest Christianity. Saint Cuthbert.
Yep. Is a real world saint.
Right, and he was part of and as far as real world, Ogma,
Yeah.
Celtic god. Now, when I'm saying real world, just for any of you people who get offended by the existence of other religions, other religions, mythologies exist, and there are practitioners of other religions and mythologies.
Yeah.
So, one person's mythology is another person's history or real life. I am just pointing out that there are certain things that in Dungeons and Dragons that hit upon many cultures,
Yes.
Greek, Roman, etc., in their fictionalized versions of it. In it's steampunk, or actually pulp fiction genre, which is Eberron.
Yeah, Eberron.
Now, Eberron has a religion, the Silver Fire, which is an anti-werewolf. If you read the stuff about the Silver Fire, it sounds very Catholic to me.
Yeah.
And Crusade-like.
Very, very crusade-y. Yeah.
So, these things definitely exist. People borrow from different cultures. They borrow from different religions. And if you treat them with respect, it's okay and fine.
Yeah.
It's also depending on what your audience is. If I were a lich man, it was written for Jews.
Yes.
I would recommend it for anybody who wants to learn a little more about Jewish culture to play it. I also recommend people experiment with other cultures, learning about other cultures. And this does put a burden on the game master.
It does.
To represent, if it's going to be broadcast or published, as respectfully and accurately as possible.
And I feel like this brings up a dichotomy that I've seen. So, especially with some of the discourse that has been happening with Dungeons & Dragons and the new representation that has been portrayed in the upcoming revision of the PHB, the Player's Handbook.
Right. And we will talk a little bit more about the Player's Handbook
later
during the main topic. But right now, as far as culture is concerned,
there has been a long history in Dungeons & Dragons and other fantasy-based role-playing games where orcs are seen as evil, and there has been some, at times, black coding for orcs. And I feel like
in 2024, they did Mexican coding.
Yeah, I saw the Mexican coding. I thought it was humorous.
Yeah.
It's not...
Some people were offended, but people are professionally offended for the sake of being offended.
Right. And, for me, how should I put this? And I felt like I came across a really great article, not article, but statement talking about this, where the problem wasn't orcs, in their eyes, the problem wasn't orcs being portrayed as black. It was the idea that they're black and therefore evil. And as someone who is in a minority group, no! I do not want to be seen as evil because of my culture.
Me neither. And
Correct.
I get that.
Yeah.
I get there's nothing more evil than you represent.
Yeah.
But no, because I didn't commit evil. And none of my ancestors committed those evils. I know that so everybody's committed some sort of evil and or sin in their lifetime.
So one of the I mentioned what I'm doing with lizard folk. In my world, one of the things that I'm doing is with orcs, I am trying to code my orcs as more African, but not just they're black.
Are they Zulu?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want them to be part,
So very tactical.
incredibly tactical.
Yeah.
But also, not Zulu and I have it on a document at home. It's either, I want to say Romans as well, possibly.
Yeah.
I try to pull from more than one, but I do want them to be, Zulu culture, of Zulu culture, where they're incredibly militaristic, they're incredibly efficient, dangerously so.
Okay, so what? And in the modern one, and things I've seen done is the bugbears as Romans.
I don't want my bugbears to be Romans.
Well, that's just what one of the betrayals that I've seen done. I see not the orcs from Tolkien Lord of the Rings which wasn't, just because they were dark didn't mean they were African, because they
Right.
they didn't demonstrate any African traits.
No, they didn't.
They didn't. They're just nothing about them said African,
Yeah.
other than skin color, which could have put them anywhere there's sunshine.
Yeah.
But the my orcs, as I depict them, are Mongolian.
See,
And
I
instead
have my
of
bugbears
horse-
being. I have my bugbears being Mongolian.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead of horses, they're writing wargs.
See, the wargs for me are closer to the goblins. So,
Right.
Mongolians are renowned for their empire and their horseback archery and how effective they were at militarism. So yeah, my bugbears are Mongolian and dangerously so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so what this really shows is there's an open for interpretation
absolutely.
and using others' cultures. You don't even have to say what cultures you're utilizing.
Yeah.
And you can, as you do with your arcs, you can mix and match them.
Yeah. I feel like there's.
It doesn't hurt
Yeah,
anything.
just because you're pulling from something doesn't mean that you have to announce that that is what you're pulling from. That is one of the benefits of asymmetrical information. I know that I'm pulling from Polynesian culture when I'm doing my lizard folk. I don't have to tell you that. Suddenly, the player is inferring a lot more and adding more than what the GM is, putting in. That's one of the benefits of asymmetrical information.
If you say that you're basing this on a Polynesian culture, or like when I'm doing Hin Shrine of Tomokchichan,
Yeah.
that's an obvious South American references. And I will change some of the encounters to make them more South American.
Yeah.
But you can't rely on a person's knowledge of South America.
Right.
And you can't rely on a person's knowledge of Polynesian, because your lizard folk aren't Polynesian.
No, they're not.
lizard folk
Yeah.
who share traits with Polynesian.
Yep.
And a person who says, oh, they're Polynesians and therefore they should do this, that, and the other thing, can be shocked and dismayed when they don't fit the stereotype they put in their head.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where if I had infinite resources, one of the things I would love to do is, if I'm publishing my campaign setting with all of these cultural injections into it, I would want to meet with cultural experts, both studied and lived, if I could,
Right.
with these cultures, and let them know that this is my intention.
I feel, especially when it comes to ancient cultures,
Yeah.
when they say you need to get somebody who lives in the area and live that culture. How many people lived ancient Roman in Rome?
There are. I acknowledge that there are limitations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How many people have actually lived the Aztec lifestyle?
Yeah. Speaking of Aztec, that's what I want for my auntie.
It makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
Though some people would say, no, the Yantis should be Indian because they're more closely related to Naga.
Yeah, but I want my auntie to be Aztec and Greek.
Then do so.
Yeah, because I want them to basically worship Medusa.
Yeah,
And I'm not pulling the Greek out of Medusa. No.
And you're not turning into a big metal bowl.
Oh, no. That, she's a Gorgon from Greek influence.
Which means it's a family name, one of three sisters.
Uh-huh. She's of the Gorgon family.
Right.
Yeah, I like taking something and leading into it. So the Yanti are about snakes. I want to lean into snakes. Snakes everything.
Right.
The only thing they're not going to have are snakes in the boots because, that's just offensive.
Right. There's a snake in my boot. The use of the imagery that you see in Aztec has a lot of snakes in it.
Absolutely.
And panthers and other things.
Yes.
And then there's the feathered serpent.
Uh-huh.
Because you can have all these nice things in there and have this snake emphasis. And as far as I'm concerned, it works perfectly well.
Well, yeah. my goal with these isn't to demean anything. It is to make it more robust and say like, oh, the Yanti, and okay, you've got one idea of it, and I'm not necessarily going to pull from that, but can I add more? Can I make, can I take this flat thing, turn it, and then turn it again, and suddenly you have, oh, this is a living, breathing culture. Yeah. How does this interact with this, and this interact with that? So for one that I absolutely loved was when I was looking at the Drow. Am I going to get rid of that they are a matriarchal society?
I would be offended if you did.
I'm not taking that away. But I'm taking a look at certain caste societies, and by looking at the caste society...
You're going to make them Indians?
Yes.
Okay.
And...
Don't make them Australian, because that from down under joke has been well played.
Yeah, I'm not doing it down under... I am pulling from certain cultures from Australia, but I'm not putting them in the Drow. But I pull from two caste societies. Mm-hmm. One, the Indian. Two,
the British?
No.
The British definitely had a caste society.
Oh yeah, but ones where I could find like, oh, they wrote it out. Hispanic America.
Okay.
The Mexican American with the mulattoes and whatnot, and by looking at like two different caste systems and thinking, how do I get a caste system based out of Drow society? And I was able to, and I have it at home, a list of like, okay, based off of what you are, you'll be able to determine what station you are in Drow society.
Did you leave the BDSM, or is that not a full cultural thing, but maybe just something of the elites?
I am not injecting any sexuality into my cultures yet, but
it also depends upon the audience.
It depends, because exactly, do I have a problem with drug use in the campaign and sex in my... No, not really, but it's not for everyone.
It's definitely not something you want to do at Spark Central.
Most definitely not.
Yeah.
The kids don't need to know those things.
Yeah, they don't need to know how zombies are made.
No, they don't. So, I felt like any Drow should know, from birth, how they line up in the caste system.
Right.
And they should be able to say, like, oh, based off of, an insight check, working with another Drow, where the other one lies. And I've set up certain mechanical, effects to that. For example, maybe you have advantage with on persuasion checks working within your caste. You have intimidation advantage on intimidation checks working above below your caste. Maybe you have advantage on deception checks working above your caste.
In America, in medieval Renaissance eras, Italy and other places, they had a thing called sumptuary laws.
Mm-hmm.
And sumptuary laws was a way of enforcing the hierarchies.
Yeah.
The caste.
Mm-hmm.
So does your Drow have sumptuary laws?
I cannot answer, only because I do not have enough information on sumptuary laws.
Okay.
But I can tell you approximately how I figured out the caste system.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so based off of Latin America caste system, you are higher on the caste system based off of your distance from Spain. If you were born in Spain, you are of a higher caste than someone who's born in Americas.
Right.
So, the highest, actually even above the Drow in the caste system, are Fae. Because they're native to the Feywild.
Sure.
So, they're going to treat the Fae as being a higher caste than them.
That must be interesting.
Yeah. Do they like it? No. But it is a part of their culture.
Okay.
And, in each, caste area, are you male or female? You're male? Lower caste system, because I haven't forgotten that this is a Drow.
Right.
If you're a priest, you're higher. If you're not a priest, you're lower. But,
sure.
I don't have everything off the top of my head.
The lowest would be a
slave.
male fighter just above a male rogue who would be untouchable.
Yeah, I do have some untouchables that are, if you are from a race that the Drow see as slave, then that's the position that you are seen as.
Doesn't matter if you're a female gnome priest, you're the bottom. So before we finish up our just talking, the last thing I want to bring up is a couple weeks ago we did Bowl Press and
we did.
mental health, and we talked about these. So we have a book that was brought up in there called The Kobold Guide to Role-Playing, and I bought this book because of that article.
Yeah.
And of course, I want to see if there's any use that we can get out of it. Obviously, haven't read it yet.
No, we haven't.
I probably will look for it on Book on Tape so I can consume it while I'm driving.
Yeah.
Or sitting there with an ice pack on my neck as part of my physical therapy and all that kind of good stuff. So I just wanted to bring out the existence of this. Is this book visible to the audience?
We will find out in just a moment. But I think it's normally in a good spot.
All right.
Yeah. So we're going to be looking into that.
Yeah, I'm not going to do an unboxing of this book.
No.
What I will do is later, after I've had a chance to look at it, I will do a review.
Okay. That sounds fair.
And of course, if you look at it or anybody else wants to read it, like I said, I'm going to leave that here if anybody else wants to review it.
Okay.
But real soon, we are going to go get into our next segment.
Yeah.
As everybody who's been watching us before knows, we do our Just Talking things where we come up with random topics to talk about, basically. And it's more off the cuff. Our main topic is ones that we've actually used research and things for. Our today's topic is Pillars of Play.
And I know that Dungeons & Dragons tends to acknowledge 3, but we may be shaking some of those pillars.
Yeah, we may be adding additional pillars. We may be talking about where these pillars came from, etc. But we're going to get into some more topics that way.
Yeah.
After that, we'll do Traps and Riddle after that next break, followed by the unboxing, and we have some good ones.
Oh, yeah, we absolutely do.
If we don't get through all of them, we'll just do those next week. Somehow I keep coming up with new things to open. I'm spending too much money. So if you want to donate to RPG Research, go to rpgresearch.com/donate. We do need product donations, especially if you want us to review your products. And we also need cash so we can keep the air conditioning running and the lights on. Because you know how hard it is to film this without light?
It'd be a very experimental show.
It would be
Very,
it'd be a podcast.
Well, you know, if we're missing light, then we're probably also missing electricity. And I really haven't. I've been really bad at touching up on my telepathy.
Yeah, we go stand out in the corner and start spouting role-playing game is good for you.
I really don't want to be holding a sign talking about the various gods of D&D.
Yeah.
No, that's going to cause some problems.
How many hit points does your god have? All right, I think we need to close it on that note before we get closed.
Repent, Cthulhu is watching.
I'd like to talk to you about our Lord and Savior Gargamel.
Gargamel. Yes, canceled.
Yeah, we are so canceled.
Yeah, but truly, Cthulhu doesn't care. That's part of his thing.
Exactly.
He's above it.
If the gods of the mythos are aware of you, it's too late.
Yeah, I don't. If the gods are real, I don't want them paying attention to me.
You would like to speak to your manager?
Yeah, okay.
I'm the manager.
Heard this going Karen on us.
Okay, so we will be back in approximately 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And we will continue with our main topic, which is Pillars of Play.
And I'm going to try and shake some of those pillars.
And talk a little bit about player types.
Player types. I'm also going to be going into a little bit of Bartle's taxonomy of players, because I have some feelings, and I'm fairly certain you cannot anticipate them.
Well, I also have an article that expands Bartles 4 to 8.
Awesome. So we will be back in 15 minutes, and then we'll get into that
Oh, yeah. Did I mention colonialism?
at a later date.
No, actually today.
Okay.
See ya.
See you in 15. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Daniel Ivy, and this is
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research, which is doing RPG Talk Show. This is a live show with undead patrons. I mean, you know what I mean. So we're a 501c3 non-profit organization, and spread the word about us. Tell all your friends. This is where you come to not to talk about the latest products that are out there, though we will be reviewing products as they come into our possession. We are here to look behind the screen of role-playing games.
we try to have a more analytical eye to certain things. And Hearth, I know that you can't prove that you're alive on the inside. I've seen you work retail.
That's just evil. I mean retail, not Hearth.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Yeah, I'm gonna avoid any comment on the morality of retail in our society at this point. Yes.
yes, that's for a different game called Humans and Households.
Yes. Okay.
So, we're going to talk about Pillars of Play and a
Yes.
little bit about players' styles.
Yeah.
Which will get us into more deep topics like Bartle's taxonomy of player types, which
Yes.
was designed for video games, but has use, even though it's not perfect, in the role-playing games.
Yeah, there's very few things that are perfect. So I feel for me, Bartle's taxonomy, at least the one that I'm familiar with, and you told me before this that
Yeah, it's in our training.
It's in our training, and that you found an expansion of it. I still feel like the 4-part, the 2 axes, 4 different player types is very, very useful.
I think
a
it
lens to look
is.
through.
It's not flawless, but if you find something that's flawless, you must be dead and in heaven.
I honestly, I feel like if you found something that is flawless, then you're delusional.
Probably.
Yeah.
Or it's my wife. Don't argue that.
I'm not going to argue it, okay? I will just stare at you knowingly. So, the Pillars of Play is one of the things that
Right. So
it came up in a Dungeons and Dragons philosophy a lot when they were designing 5th edition.
right. Now it existed
Yeah.
well before that, but it was codified when 5th edition came out.
Yes.
As far as Dungeons and Dragons is concerned.
And for everyone to know, the 3 Pillars of Play are combat, socializing, and exploration.
Right. Social interaction, combat, and exploration are all the
Yes.
things. So, one of the things that they had when they first did this for 5th edition was like, as a challenge, they had to put together modules that showed at least 2 of those pillars in a 1-hour module.
Wow.
And sometimes they would have all 3. So, what are the pillars and how does it line up with game design
Yeah.
and running a game? Because your game, if you're the game master, should be introducing all 3 of these pillars at least a little. Now, you're going to have players that are going to prefer other pillars over other ones.
Yeah.
The one that they normally spend the most time on is combat.
Yeah, there is a very heavy weight behind combat, and I think it is generally acknowledged in the sphere that is Dungeons and Dragons that of the 3 pillars, combat is the most supported, and exploration is the least supported. At least, as opposed, according to 2014.
Now, they're also throwing in some older modules that have more exploration in them, but it is still not as fully addressed in the 2014 rules as it used to be.
Yeah.
Or as it could be. So, and combat is obvious because of the mathematical impacts of combat.
Yeah. That and people like fighting things.
Right. So there's so many variants and things to do in your combat that it takes a lot of rules to cover it.
Yeah.
It may take less rules to cover exploration and socialization, especially if you're going on a wing it process.
Yeah.
Exploration is as they say in Dungeons Dragons, by the people that were designing it, that it was the most difficult part of adventure design.
Yeah.
Looking at things like how to make going down a hallway and checking for traps exciting.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
How to deal with a hex crawl where what happens in the next mile over could be completely random, or is it all plotted out? When I plan exploration counters, I think of, I'm quoting from the article, D&D Beyond post, let's design adventures, encounters, and the 3 pillars. He was saying, when I plan explorations, I think of fiendish traps, strange magical idols, rapidly moving rivers, fearsome lava flows, rooms that fill with water on waves, and mind-shredding psychic whales. Basically, exploration is everything in between the combat and social.
And I feel, and I've kind of hinted at this before with you. I feel like, although that is informative, I feel like there's a fundamental flaw in the way they're approaching it. So,
well, that's also why they're having so much trouble with it.
Yeah. So I feel, and this is how one of the reasons why I have some issues with how certain people approach Bartle's taxonomy of player types.
Right, and we'll get into that a little bit later.
But this is kind of hinting into it, where if you're designing a combat encounter, you should be thinking of it from the perspective of why does someone want to be in combat. And that is admittedly at times very, very easy. Some people are just very, very competitive, so they want a challenge that way.
Right.
But if you're thinking about why does someone enjoy socializing? They want that back and forth. They want to they want to feel out people. They want that social dynamic.
Right. And some of the games out there are run in such a way where your social interactions are run like combat.
Some of them, and that is very Machiavellian. But if
well, not necessarily Machiavellian. Some of them are, but like the ones for Bubble Gumshoe. You're scoring points, and you are countering something somebody else is saying with your own evidence or whatever. So there are die rolls and stuff for that, and other people do social interaction like you just wing it. This is a yes and scenario.
See, this is what I would want to see if they're going to try and gamify social encounters. One, have a social test, but instead of standard like, roll these d20s and whatnot, or dice rolls, use debate points.
Well,
use debate scoring.
You can do that.
Yeah.
Or if you want to go a little simpler ways, use Adventures in Middle Earth, and which is the 5th edition version of the One Ring role-playing game, or the Lord of the Rings things. They have social interactions. It's called a audience.
Yeah, embarkation, audience, arrivals. Yeah.
They have rules that flesh out the social encounter, where if you're trying to accomplish something in your social encounter, not just perform different small talk. You're not there to just talk about the weather, but you're trying to actually accomplish something, get information, give information, or persuade somebody to do something.
Right. So for me, it's if you're talking about the 3 pillars, you have to talk about, at least think about the motivations as to why these would be interesting.
Right.
Why does someone like to socialize? A lot of people really like those social networks of like, this person talks to this person, that talks to this person. But when we're talking about exploration, why does anyone like to explore?
To discover new things.
Exactly. And so far what has been described there doesn't seem like that has the motive of you're discovering anything. It is there to see.
Right. And like I'm doing a game which is a dungeon crawl. Lost Shrine of Tomoka Choan, Tomaka Kuaka, however you say that.
you're just going to, admittedly, going to stumble through that name.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I'm making it interesting because two of the characters,
Yeah.
one character is a anthropologist, and the other character is an archaeologist. The NPC is the archaeologist.
Uh-huh.
And they spend an hour in any large room mapping it and cataloging things.
Yeah.
They are there for the exploration and discovery of which they're not just to gather experience points by fighting monsters and going through. This is the same group that I'm playing in the Island of Dread, which they're looking forward to exploring.
Yeah.
They're looking for the journey is just as important. And we will get together about journeys in some of our unboxing materials. But there are games where the journey is just as important. Other games are the red dot saying you traveled from here to here, or you're just happened to be here. There's no reason why you got here. You are here, and let's figure out what's happening, what the plot line is, the intrigue, and stuff like that. And some people, some type of players like that. Now, I do want to. We've talked that there are socializations. These are the social interactions. These are the things that deal with cabals, cults, factions, all these different group things. Some games have, things to how are you influencing the different factions, because they will determine how many people you can get to help you fight the big boss at the very end. Baldur's Gate 3 does that.
Yeah.
Baldur's Gate 3 does combat. Baldur's Gate does socialization
Baldur's
and
Gate 3 does,
exploration.
they hit those three pillars very, very well. And, if we're, we've talked that, or at least I've stated that exploration is the least supported. And I feel like there's a difference in philosophy in designing games, be it video games or role-playing, tabletop role-playing games. There is a difference between presenting something so that you can see to say to the explorers, as opposed to having them being able to discover something.
Right.
And I feel like there has been a genuine thirst for fleshing out that exploration area in the TRPG scene for Dungeons and Dragons, and I'll call them out. Anytime I've seen people coming up with home rules for example, chopping up and using monsters, or crafting,
I use those.
Crafting and crafting and finding stuff. That's exploration. That is okay. The DM can't anticipate what they're specifically going to be doing, but they can say this is a sandlot that you can explore. Okay.
Well, and I think that also goes into a fourth pillar that we will get into a moment once we start talking about Bartles and things like that. But before we move on to Bartles, I want to point out that the Player's Handbook for 2024, just based on the table of contents that have been printed,
I was looking at
for
this
Player's
earlier.
Handbook 2024 physical, they do have exploration, combat, and
It's socializing.
socializing. Well, by socialization, they mean they have from page 16 to 18.
So fairly early in the book.
Yeah, page 16 to 18 is socialization. Social interaction, as they listed.
Yeah.
Exploration is page 19 to 22. And combat is from 23 to 29.
Okay.
So, these rules are up front. Then you create your character. All other ones previously had it that you created your character, then learn how to play.
Yeah.
This one wants to do it again.
They've advertised that they've reworked how the layout of the book is. I haven't got my copy yet, so I do not have any opinion on that.
Yep. I should get a digital copy soon. I'll get a physical copy later. But my point is that the 2024 may have some tweaks. They're obviously going to have tweaks on combat.
Yeah.
They may have some tweaks on exploration, but I don't know what they are, because right now all I see is under exploration, vision and light, hiding, interacting with objects, hazards, and travel. But those are all important. Those things
Yeah,
are always
those are
there.
all
But are there
important.
anything new?
That's not exploration, that's navigation. Then there's a difference there.
Right.
Yeah, export. This is getting into the what I'm talking about in terms of the philosophy behind designing this, and I feel like if they're going to be tweaking exploration, those rules are going to, and that guidance is going to be in the Dungeons Master's Guide.
Right. I was just going to say that
Yeah.
in their defense, full things for exploration is the stuff that's written here is all the players need to know.
Yeah.
But the dungeon master is going to need all kinds of world building information, which is what we're going to see when they put in Greyhawk and other examples of world building. And they're going to talk about the pillars in a more full method
Yeah.
because, again, the pillars are part of design,
Yeah.
not whatever. Now let's talk about the players.
One of the things that I feel is, before you get onto that, one of the things that I feel is would be useful in the exploration aspect of the pillar is proper design of random encounters. And I know that for some people, the random encounter table is dreaded and much maligned, and yeah, because I feel it's designed wrong. And I feel a random encounter table shouldn't be, okay, from 1 to 100, whatever, random combat encounters. I feel those random encounters should be, this is a possible social thing that's going on. Maybe it's a random traveler specific to that region.
Okay, so when you're looking at the One Ring role-playing game
Yeah.
and its 5th edition iteration, your rolls indicate whether or not it's a good encounter or a bad encounter.
Right.
And then we decide what the encounter is.
Yeah.
A lot of modules, they have the random encounters list. If they're a more modern module, it won't be just a list of monsters.
Right.
It will be the list of what you encounter plus a description of what they're doing. And that could be, you come across an ogre who is selling wooden gnomes.
Yeah.
Lawn gnomes.
Okay, that is quirky and can be fun, and I'm not saying don't do that, but I feel like at its core, the random encounter table should be using the random encounter table as this is a tour of the region you're in. This is a tasting of every little corner that you could possibly find in that region. And it's random what you come across, but all of this is in the region.
Right.
Both good, bad, and in between.
Now, not the Dungeon Rings, but the One Ring role-playing
Yeah.
and the 5th edition versions of it do cover, your random encounter may be a beautiful sunset or large birds flying overhead. Your random encounter could be an army of wargs coming down, charging down at you.
Yeah.
But it definitely gets into the exploration versus the combat. Your random encounter could be finding a artifact or something, just like, look, there's a helmet here in the field. This must have been the site of a long lost battle.
And for me to point out where I'm getting some of this information from, because I feel like this content creator has done, I think, a very good job of helping me codify some of the thoughts that I've already had in my head. Pointy Hat
Right.
on YouTube described that he had issues with exploration. He had issues with the random encounter, and he has
Right. Now, you're obviously very enthusiastic about this topic, which is why next week we're
Yes.
doing nothing but exploration.
I'm going to sink my teeth into that.
Yeah.
But
So for right now, let's
move
talk.
on.
Let's move on. So
Thank
what
you
you're
for keeping me in
describing there
line.
is explorers.
Yeah, explorers.
Now, on the Bartles taxonomy, we have
Can you guess what type of person I am?
he's an explorer and a tactician.
Yes.
There's the other side, which is the fighters, or
Killers.
as he labels as killers. In the one I'm showing you, which is on LinkedIn.com,
Yeah.
gamification work, 8-player types. The 8-player types start with the concepts that was in the Bartles, and they replace killer with fighter because they split that subject into two, which put it as killers versus competitors.
Okay. I'm curious as to how he's dividing up the groups, because originally my understanding of Cardinals is that it's working off of two axes.
It is working off two axes. So, and one of the axes that they replaced here was master versus adept, the others versus the environment. PvP versus PvE. So each group, so your favorite group, explorers, are divided into solving problems, detectives, and discovering new horizons, navigators. Your socializers are divided in being loved and recognized, rock stars, while feeling useful goes under coach, under socializers.
Coaches versus prima donnas.
Right, which is the rock star. Achievers are the experts mastering a skill, while the collector is got to get them all. Become better at what I do, or getting things. Which brings me to, under achievers, the fourth pillar, which I would consider reward.
Yes, and I feel like
when you're designing encounters, you have to figure out what the reward is. Sometimes there is no reward. The encounter itself is the reward.
I also feel because in a recent campaign that I ran, which was Wild Beyond the Witchlight.
Yeah.
I came to the not unhappy realization that highlighting or coinciding with what we're talking about in terms of achievers, with people who like to collect, my two players ended up really, really liking to collect certain things.
Right.
They were collecting NPCs, and not in like horrible ways, but you had the groups where it's like, what's that goblin's name? Oh darn, the goblin is named Boblin the Goblin, and now he becomes the party mascot. The party has collected him.
We have a similar thing happening in my Saturday group. This was an explorer survival module.
Yeah.
And they are traveling by ship, stopping places, discovering different artifacts and things like that, dealing with other things along the hazards, like as pirates, sea monsters, and stuff like that. Some of the characters are fighters. Our anthropologist is one of the worst anthropologists in the world, because he gets a boost from one of his spells or something like that, and he wants to keep charging and fighting everything he can until that spell wears out.
Okay, so he studied anthropology from the school of Jones, Dr. Jones?
No, Dr. Jones is more careful about what he does than this guy does.
Wow.
Dr. Jones at least thinks about a door before opening it. He literally walks up to every door and goes, "Thaumaturgy, open that door."
Wow. By the way, by Dr. Jones, I mean like Dr. Indiana Jones.
Right.
Yes.
Indy was the name of the dog. Anyways, the important part is that, we got different people there. We have the detectives who want to map everything, the navigators who want that exploration, but they're also collecting artifacts. They're collecting, they're getting their rewards. They are in for some of the rewards, and they are collecting NPCs.
Yeah.
So one of the main characters of the player characters is a paladin redemption oath. And so his thing is all the boss monsters of each of the modules. Anybody that is a competent person, he tries not to kill them on the enemy side. He wants to hire them and redeem them, turn them into good guys.
By the way, one of the ways that I found was excellent for the people who like to collect NPCs. I was utilizing the
Sidekicks?
No, I mean, I was using a sidekick, but that's because we only had 2 players. But I was utilizing the Unearthed Arcana Bastion system.
The new Bastion system
Yes.
is coming out in the new DMG.
Yes, it is.
September.
Because the Bastion system from that was published in Unearthed Arcana
Or November.
had spots that, okay, they had rooms that they had specialized rooms that they could have hirelings. And then my players realized, oh, I can hire this one NPC that I really like to work in my Bastion. That's how they collected them.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing is, a bastion doesn't have to be a castle, an inn,
No, it
or something.
doesn't.
In my group's case, when we start using the bastion rules, it'll be their ship.
Oh, that sounds amazing.
Actually, they have 2 ships.
Mm-hmm.
So they're trying to build a fleet. Right now, they kind of have a fleet. They have 3 ships in the fleet, but only 2 of them the player characters own.
Okay.
And so we get further there. So we have the competitors, the killers, and all of these different groups. So the explorers obviously go in the exploration pillar. The socializers go with the social, and the fighters go with the combat, with the killers and competitors. And the achievers get another pillar, I think, is what is the end point of the plot.
Yeah.
Achievers are the people who are there to accomplish things as opposed to just discover new things or to talk their way through things. It's those goal-orientated people, and this could be from token economies like experience points and treasure to magic items to social status.
They're looking for a long-term goal to achieve.
Right.
Yeah.
And that to me is another pillar that isn't stated outright in the 3 pillars. These things are brought up in the current 2014 Dungeon Master's Guide. Rewards other than treasure,
Yeah.
like honor can be a reward. Hope can be a reward in the token type games. These, but they have to be designed into the game.
Yeah, they do.
You can't just say, oh, what does he have in his pockets? Or,
It needs to mean something.
yeah, what's in the dragon hoard?
Yeah.
Yes, having a great dragon hoard is wonderful, but it's better also if your dragon hoard tells you something about the world you're in.
Yeah. Or the dragon.
Right.
Because, I love going into what I'm doing with my own home campaign, but I like the idea that dragons, different dragons have different types of hoards. And it isn't all just gold. And in my world, I have a red dragon. It is the big bad evil guy of my campaign.
Yep, what's he collect?
Power.
Okay. He's a politician.
Yeah. Yes, he does have gold.
That's
but-
traditionally a green dragon's job, but you can mix it up.
Yeah. So this is a red dragon who is collecting power.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have dragons that collect books. I have one dragon that's an herbologist,
Yeah.
and their hoard is their garden.
Oh, that must be an amazing garden.
It's huge, and there are so many things, and I had to set up this special and make a deal with an elemental to keep this hothouse just right, or my orchids will die.
Oh, I could see just this is like a green dragon. You said? Which dragon?
Green dragon was for the hoarding of power.
Oh, which one is the horticulturist?
The horticulturist was a bronze dragon.
So bronze dragon, who's just being, and I'm using the vernacular here. I know that it's an actual condition. Very just obsessive compulsive about how meticulous their garden needs to be. Like this one, I can't have these plants mixing with this plant because just being. I want to see a dragon nerd out about their hoard. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see.
Oh, you like that cup? That cup belonged to Napoleon. or whoever.
Oh,
Yeah.
jeez, oh, jeez. A dragon was like, yeah, I collect things. Is it mint?
What condition is this?
Watching the blue dragon put on white gloves to deal with his horde.
And he's like Pawn Stars.
Yes.
He knows the history of the object,
Yes.
who owned it first, that kind of stuff. It's not just because it's valuable, but because it's a piece of history.
Yeah. This is the type of personality that I want. Where I would use for more information. Yeah, I want I want NPCs to have personality other than just like, oh, I'm here to advance the plot. No, I want quirky characters. I want motivation. I want why are they here? Why are they a part of this world as opposed to further the plot?
Right, and you have to look at you have your NPC, your big bad,
Yeah.
and then you have to figure out how do these pillars fit into it? What is the social ramifications of a dragon in your country?
Well,
How does that affect your culture?
Well, I do have that, but I'm not about to list it here. Let's just say that my world is in fragments, physical fragments. The ecology of dragons is very, very tenuous.
I've seen a couple shows where the worlds were literally floating chunks of land, which is really kind of cool in some ways. In other ways, it's like, how do people actually survive this? I don't know.
Oddly enough, one of the things about my world is a lot of people, because the chunks are so large, some of the people in the larger cities take for granted that they're living on a chunk. But one of the things that I have is dragon eggs don't dictate what dragon is coming out. So a red dragon can have eggs, and a blue dragon can come out.
See, and I have a problem with that from a biological standpoint.
Uh-huh.
A red dragon whose heat and fire produces a frost dragon just doesn't seem to work.
Right. So my explanation is all dragons produce the same type of eggs. And all eggs start latching on to a particular energy source around their nest, and that dragon starts aligning with that energy source. So a red dragon could really, really want all red dragons, so they'll put it in a lava pit. But if there happens to be like a gold piece next to it, and one of the eggs starts aligning with the gold piece, maybe a gold dragon comes out.
That's one way to do it.
Yeah. There is some method of the madness, but I needed something so that all dragons are possible in my limited world.
Okay.
Yeah.
Speaking of the dungeon, I like the fact that the gold dragon is returning to its oriental roots.
I did like that, yes.
And it is not just another Western dragon.
Mm-hmm. I love the design of the bronze dragon.
Yeah.
Because they're bringing a patine in the design, and just as an artist, oh my god, dynamic colorization. It is beautiful.
And that's one of the weird things about the art, is how the art also affects the culture and stuff like that. Do you know why orcs were pig-faced in first edition?
Because Tolkien.
Because Tolkien.
Yeah.
Because they had to distinguish the orcs from Tolkien's orcs.
Yeah.
They could claim the word is not from Tolkien.
Yeah, they can. But once they look like Tolkien orcs and
act like Tolkien orcs,
then it's Tolkien orcs.
Exactly.
And in my world, I mentioned earlier that I want them more African-based. I also want my orcs to be more porcine based. So tusks, pig-faced, and I'm also pulling some of the ideas of the concept of the domestication of pigs and feral pigs, where there's this idea that all pigs, if you put them out into the wild, can become boars.
Right.
So in my world, domesticated orcs are half orcs.
Okay.
Half in their own culture. Oh, you're not a full orc because you've been domesticated.
Got it.
Yeah, there is that social implication of it. And the ones that are more from the home country are more. They act more like wild boar.
I think when you look at the artwork as it relates to, we're just using orcs as an example. We can go into kobolds, goblins, and all those other things. But if you look at the orcs, we had pig-faced orcs.
Yeah.
And then by the time we got to 3rd edition, we had ape.
Yeah.
I thought that was more problematic. If you're trying to get rid of that.
There's an entire conversation that we can have on the problems of eugenics and the history of eugenics as it aligns with so much of fantasy, ranging from Tolkien to H.P. Lovecraft,
Right.
and Edgar Allan Poe.
And we made the same mistake with 5th edition when we brought in the House of D and made them into minstrels.
Yeah, there is a problem when certain cultural implications are and honestly it may have just been like, oh, this is interesting, and then just not aware of it, and they stepped in it, and that is fair. I feel like, okay, they stepped in it deep. I think it was still ignorance as opposed to maliciousness.
Right, and there's a law about that says never attribute malice to
Hanlon's razor.
Hanlon's razor. Yeah,
It's one of my favorite razors.
people get cut by that one.
Well, I cut people with that one.
But
Yeah.
I think one of the things that we need to know about culture, since we seem to get more into culture than the player types right now.
Well, let's try and get back to the player types.
But I do want to make one last statement about culture. Your game is your game.
Yes, absolutely.
If you want your orcs to be terrifying creatures of the dark, and you want to go with a Tolkien model, or even a terrifying fey creature, because goblin being fey, you can do that. You can make orcs to be pure evil, no characteristics, and that's what you want to do. Or you can play a nuanced game where not every orc is evil.
Correct.
And maybe their culture is evil.
Yeah, and I believe even Tolkien, spoke about, if he is, because Tolkien was Christian, is he a true Christian? And he's questioning his Christianity on the concept, if he makes orcs, should they be able to be redeemed? Even he was questioning that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I played in games where orcs did get redeemed.
Yeah.
We had a volunteer who chose the nickname for himself as Snaga.
Yeah. I remember Snaga.
Snaga means slave in Orcish.
Yeah.
And so we found a orc whose name was Snaga in the game, and he was a slave, and we adopted him. And we were working towards the redemption of this one particular orc.
Yeah.
What does that attribute to? That's looking at a creature from an individualistic standpoint instead of a racial or species.
Yeah.
Do you know why people are afraid of certain dog breeds?
Yeah.
Bad owners.
Bad owners, yeah.
It's the same thing with people of particular cultures. Not every Japanese is a bad person. There's a lot of heroic and good Japanese.
Yeah.
But you can't tell the Koreans from 1940 they were good Japanese.
Nope.
You can't tell the Chinese.
Yeah, about that one event that we'd rather not talk about, but it is horrific.
Yes.
Yeah.
So there are, even in Japanese culture, there are Japanese villains.
Yes.
There are segments of Japanese culture who are considered the bad guys from everybody outside. And we're talking Yakuza.
Yeah.
We're talking about, I can't remember the Japanese word for it, but it's the gangsters. that are different than the Yakuza.
Yeah.
We have the same issues in the United States, and we have all these. But when we get to the last part of this, digging back into our pillars of play,
Yeah.
we have these 4 design pillars, 3 that are recognized directly as the combat, socialization, and explorers, and we add the 4th pillar, according to achievers, which is another thing that people should look at when they're creating their games. And not to assume that they're all just parts of the others.
And I feel like there's also you've added 4th one, achievers. I feel like there's a 5th one that is often there in, especially in Dungeons and Dragons, but it wasn't really acknowledged in the 3 pillars of play, and that's puzzles. Admittedly, I have my issues with puzzles.
Okay, now they put puzzles under explorers.
Ow.
Devious traps, supernatural hazards.
Yeah.
Whether you're dealing with physical obstacles, always keep all the elements in the encounter in mind when willing to play with them. That was what they put under explorers. You could put that under achievers if you wanted to.
I can understand certain people, I know that some people genuinely like being given a puzzle and solving it.
Right. So according to the Dungeons and Dragons philosophy, if it's not combat and if it's not socialization, it's exploration. And that includes puzzles, traps, all those elements. Finding that locked door is part of exploration. And they're talking about trying to make that locked door not just a DC 15 to open, but something interesting about that door.
And I've seen it where, like, oh, okay, I make it something interesting about the door isn't locked. I feel like the easiest way to stall a game
is over-explain the door.
I have way too much detail on that door.
Yeah.
And watch them do anything but open that door. They will roll, detect traps, and
yes,
exactly.
I agree that puzzles should be part of the achievers. I also think that's the 4th tier.
I also feel like by them saying if it's not socialization and it's not combat, exploring shouldn't be the catch-all.
Right.
I think that's a bit demeaning to what exploration should be.
All right, I got 3 seconds or 3 minutes. I want to point out.
Yeah.
This is our lead into the next world.
Yep.
Worlds of Design's colonies. It's an EN world thread, and colonization will hit your socialization, your exploration, and why colonies happen: commercial expansion, population reduction, military control, commercial exploitation, specialized settlements, population reduction. Why is population reduction under here twice? One is for disasters and the other is for pure imperialism, military religious proselytization. My group is dealing with a colony that they're going to restock, and it is a economic expansion thing. They're not trying to be exploitive, but if you're going to put these things in, especially when you're talking about things, we'll talk more about this in our upcoming exploration. But if you're doing historical, you have to admit and deal with the existence of colonies, and you have to be aware that colonies aren't one shoe fits all.
Yeah.
The British colonies in India were different than the British colonies in Tahiti.
Yeah.
And there were different relations. The American colony in Hawaii was just as bad, in my opinion, as the the British colonies in India.
The Dutch colonies in South Africa were not the same as the English, colonies in South Africa.
Exactly, and so that's part of the exploration and socialization and things we can talk about this. We will be back in 15 minutes where we will do our Next grouping, which is traps and riddles.
I really wish we could talk more about this, but we're going to have multiple
Right.
sessions on this.
We may have to do 2 sessions on exploration
Yeah.
just to make you calm down enough to get to the other ones.
Oh no, I can go on forever with that.
Okay, but we're going to limit.
Yeah.
So we'll be back for traps and riddles and then unboxing in 15 minutes.
Yes.
See you soon.
See you soon. Welcome back to the RPG Talk Show. My name is Dan Ivy, and this is...
John Wilker, Vice President of RPG Research, 501c3 nonprofit organization that explores the effects of all role-playing games and looks at their uses for education, entertainment,
Recreation.
recreation,
And professional development.
Yes, wow.
I do listen, yes. Yes,
He's
I do
learning.
listen. It
All
takes a
right.
while, but yes, I do learn.
Okay. So, if you want to make donations, rpgresearch.com/donate. Please help us keep the windows open. Just as a forward, we are going to have, by December, start moving out of the community center.
Okay.
If we don't suddenly get a lot more money. I'm looking into how to get grants and things playing to us.
I know that you've been working on that.
Yeah, we need like $150,000 just to keep the building.
Okay.
Otherwise, we are going to go back to being basement dwellers.
Yes. But we've been basement dwellers before.
Yep. And we were actually more effective
So,
because we weren't worrying so much about trying to raise money.
yeah, we will learn, we will adapt, we will overcome.
So,
Yes.
speaking of adapting and overcome,
Yeah.
we are,
geez.
and the Olympics just finished. So we are doing Challenge of Champions 2, which
Yes.
is the Olympics of the Dungeon Crawlers.
Yeah.
It is by Jonathan M. Richards, artwork by Rags Morales. And this was Dungeon Magazine, July-August 1993. Yes, before some of you were even born.
Yep.
It's issue number 69, volume 12,
Somewhere
number
in there.
3. And right now we're going to do scenario number 5. Each scenario has
Okay.
its own name. And this one's called Capes Shout.
Kate's Shout.
As usual, just for the audience's sake, I will remind everybody that you have no equipment that's not provided for you, no spells that you can cast that aren't provided for you. So it doesn't matter what level you are, you will have a scroll or a wand or something that'll allow you to do your things.
Yeah.
You are escorted down to the next scenario by a dark-haired guild rogue named Luther.
Okay, I see Luther.
He leads you to a room and shows you your starting equipment. 2 12 by 2 foot boards, an 18-foot ladder. There's a door leading into a 10-foot by 36-foot corridor. The corridor has 8 3-foot windows, 4 to a side, and hanging on pegs between each window is a cloak or a cape. The door is set into the far wall of the corridor.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions about the layout?
Not really, but you mentioned the boards and the ladder.
Yes.
Let me write those down.
Okay,
What are
yeah.
those boards?
2 12-foot by 2-foot boards,
12 foot by 2 boards.
right? 18-foot ladder. There are 8 3-foot windows. They are 3 foot by 3 foot square and 4 feet from the floor. They're open air windows with no glass. There is a 6-foot interval between each window, and in the intervals between the windows hang 6 capes.
Okay.
The ceiling in this corridor is 10 foot high and is lit by a continual light spell.
Okay. What is my
Alright.
objective?
Luther reads the task briefing. When the whistle goes off, you must make it through the corridor and out the door at the end.
Yeah.
However, each cape has a magic mouth cast on it that will scream like blazes if anyone or anything touches the floor, thereby
lava. Okay.
ending the scenario. Also, inside a pocket of the capes, one of the capes, is the rogue's ring. It is yours if you can get to it.
Okay, and one of the capes?
Yep, one cape has a ring in it. Every cape has a magic mouth on it, and every one of them will scream if you touch the floor.
Okay.
And you lose the game if you touch the floor.
And the room is how long?
36 feet.
36 feet. How wide?
It is 10 feet wide
10 feet wide. Okay.
and 10 feet tall.
And 6 foot intervals.
Yep. 6 foot intervals between each windows. And in the intervals between the windows hang 6 gates. So 3 foot by,
Okay. So, let's see here. From the door, can my ladder reach the window on the left?
So the ladder on the window on the left is 6 foot in,
Yeah.
and
My ladder is 18 feet.
right, and there's an angle on that you have to go through. So Pythagorean theorem,
I think I can reach it.
yeah. But you got to be careful about that floor.
Yeah, I'm going to be careful. So I am going to, have the ladder, go from my behind my door all the way to the window on the left.
Okay.
And I want to climb,
Ooh.
I'm going to use my rogue.
Okay. Your rogue is going to climb along the ladder.
And he's going to bring one of the boards. And the board is 12 feet by 2 feet. He's going to use that board to bridge the full distance of the room, because the board is 12 feet long, and the room is only 10 feet, long. So he's going to bridge it. From there.
Yeah, I want you to clarify a couple things.
Uh-huh.
What is keeping the ladder outside the room?
Oh, I'm going from the ground outside of the room to the ladder. To the first window.
Right.
Yeah.
So is the ladder just sitting on the floor and touching the window?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, he's gonna climb that ladder, still not touching any of the ground, using the board to then bridge window to window.
Okay. Window to window, like from staying on the left side or
Yeah.
crossing to
Left to right.
Okay.
Well, basically top to, from my perspective, top window, the top window to the bottom window. Basically, I'm looking at the windows in pairs.
Okay.
Yeah, so using the board to bridge it.
Okay.
Okay. He is then going to climb to the center of that board. Can it hold his weight?
The board, which is 12 foot by 2 foot, can hold the rogue's weight.
Okay. So he is then going to try and maneuver, kind of standing in that window. He's moving the ladder over the board.
Okay.
Okay. Then climbing back and bringing the board up into the center of the board where he is. And then going from the center of the board to the next window.
Yeah, it's directly across from you.
So let's count the windows, the pair of windows from the door that I'm in to the door that I'm getting to.
Okay, are you starting on the left side of the
I'm
map?
starting on the left-hand side. Yeah.
Okay, so you went to the first window, which is at the top.
Yeah. And then bridged to the one on the bottom below it.
Okay, using the
first board.
The first board, which is 12 feet and it's 10 feet across.
Yeah.
So you get across to that one. Mm-hmm. Now what do you do?
Now I'm using the ladder to go from the board to the next window on the, basically the second column.
Mm-hmm.
I'm using the, ladder to get that.
So like a zigzag?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm using the second board to bridge that one.
Okay.
Okay. And then I'm going to use the ladder to bridge those two boards.
Okay.
Okay. And adjusting the ladder across those two boards, I'm going to climb across and check, both both capes to see if there's any rings in them.
Okay, so the top
And then the bottom.
and then the bottom.
Yes.
No ring, no ring.
Okay. Then I'm going to, and this is still just the rogue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because I feel like this is going to be difficult to do with multiple people. I'm basically going to try and figure out how to do it with one person,
Okay.
and then do it in reverse and just have them, each person do it until they get to the end. He's going to, he's going to use, while on the second board, use the ladder to kind of hoist the first board
Okay.
and slide it to him,
Got it.
and then use the ladder to kind of jig it to the third column, and repeat what I did.
Okay. And you're checking both of the.
Yeah.
Okay. So the top
and-
left
Yeah, so I'm going to
has the ring.
I'm going to repeat the process of using the ladder to branch to the window, and then establish a support
Yeah.
going all the way across. Let's see here. I can do that. I can easily see that. So then he's going to use that same methodology to go back to the beginning, and leaving the board there, he is going to put down the ladder to where his friends are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Each of them are going to climb up the ladder to the window.
Okay.
Okay. And stay in the window. What? The second person is going to then go down to the second window. So that's one person, two person, second person on the board, third person on the board. When we bridge over, that ladder is 18 feet. Wonderful. When they bridge over, the two people who are standing in the windows are going to bridge over to the next window. And then the fourth person is going to grab onto the ladder, which is being suspended by two boards, climb up, and come over.
Okay.
And we're going to repeat that process with all four people either staying in the windows or on the boards until we get to the end.
All right. That is real close to the actual solution.
And at the end, obviously, just using the ladder
Right.
to bridge.
The
from
hard part is doing that in 15 minutes.
Yeah, I think I have 5 minutes left.
You have 5 minutes in your explanation, but the 15 minutes of physically moving everybody across
It's going to be difficult.
would be difficult. But 5 minutes might be enough. But there is a faster way to do it.
Really? Proof
Yeah.
that I overthink things. Yes.
Yep. So when you get there and you check a cloak, you throw it out the window. You get to the next cloak, you throw it out the window. And you throw the next one out the window, and the next one, and the next one, and the next one, until there are no capes with magic mouth on them. So there's nothing to trigger the magic mouth when everybody else just walks across.
Okay. Okay.
Otherwise, that is the proper solution. It is only listed in the DM notes that if they're running out of time, you cannot. The magic mouse cannot be activated if they're not in the corridor to detect somebody touching the floor.
So I did a hard mode.
You did hard mode, yeah.
That reminds me when I was in Baldur's Gate. I defeated Grim the hard way first time because I wasn't thinking of using the anvil.
There's an achievement for.
I got it.
Yep.
I've gotten it twice. Once when I was working on Rain's version, and at this time, less than 2% of people had accomplished it, and he was still a bit salty that I had done it, and he wasn't able to replicate it at the time. But we were able to figure out why. But Yeah, it's a tough fight.
I did it by using one of my best armored people to fight, and everybody else was just throwing healing potions.
Oh, I was doing kiting.
Mm-hmm.
Kiting and slowing down, kiting and slowing down.
So, and then I found out about the hammer, and I'm going, oh my god, that's so obvious. Why didn't I think of that?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, so let's you did it.
Yes.
You accomplished another one. That was a harder one. I think the best way for us to have done this, and I may do this in the future when it comes to these measuring ones, is I set up an actual 3D thing for you to play with.
Or it doesn't always have to be 3D. I think we could have done 2D with this.
Could have done 2D.
Yeah.
But it would have, I think the actual physical visualization would have helped.
Yeah.
All right. So, what do we got to play with today? Because now we're doing unboxing. We don't have to go through all of them.
No, we don't.
But let's start with
Actually, I was gonna start by allowing people to see your beautiful mug by dropping
the DM
this.
screen.
Yes.
Okay. You want to inflict my face on the populace?
I can't be the only one who's suffering.
Yeah.
And we got the nice little dragons here.
Yep, our pet dragons keep us company.
Okay. Which one did you want to go do first? Life Well Lived?
Yeah, let's do that one first.
Okay. So we have,
It's a Cubicle 7 game.
and I'm learning to absolutely love the stuff that Cubicle 7 does.
Now, this is based on the, as far as I can tell, it's obviously based on the life path method of creating characters.
Yes, which tends to make very well
Can I see that first
fleshed
one you
out
showed?
characters.
The first one was a life well lived character sheets. Record the important moments of your life with these tearaway character sheets. We'll open up and take a look at those in just a moment.
Yeah.
But let's look at the book first. What is that about? It should say something on the back or front.
It says explore your hero's life before, during, and after their 5th edition adventure. So this is 5th edition compatible.
Yes.
And I'm reminded of Tasha's Cauldron of Everything, either that or Xanathar's, where they have more fleshed out characters. Where it says you're able to generate
flesh out pre-life characters.
pre-life characters.
I actually played a game. I still might be playing more of it, where we created our characters completely randomly. We rolled for race, gender, everything in the Tasha's to see what our past life was. So I ended up as a female halfling druid with a soldier background.
Interesting. And sometimes I like having the randomness and trying to figure out how does that work.
Read the back.
Oh, the back. The back. Discover who your characters are beyond the dungeon in this 5e supplement for the world's most popular role-playing game. It says explore what your adventures get up to before, after, and in between dungeon crawling, from small moments of bonding around the campfire while crafting potions to life events such as running a business, starting a family, and ultimately retiring until trouble comes knocking. And I'm seeing various chapters about that. They have something like lineage, life paths, which it talks about origins, early life, adolescence, pivotal moments, occupations, quirks, your class, your call to adventure, going into ability scores and finishing touches. Actually, this looks interesting in the finishing touches. They have the lies we tell ourselves,
Right.
skeletons in the closet, and that which binds us.
One
Which I think are very interesting motivations for characters.
of the methods I used, it was called the life path method for creating characters, and you did not roll your stats or use a point by the events in your life as you were growing up
Determine your stats.
would determine your stats. So if you were in the military path or the scholar path, it mattered and it impacted your stats. Which, by the way, is the 2024 method a little bit, where your background helps determine your stats.
Yeah.
So there's the character sheets.
Ooh, let's take a look at that.
It's tearaway.
Yeah, I'm not going to turn them away. But
Now, I'm going to let you look at them.
well, that just tore away.
Okay. So this looks like a standard character sheet to me.
It does.
Anything unusual about it?
It has multiple levels. Lineage traits. What if there's anything on the back? I'm going to tear one away.
Tear one away. We can do that.
There we go. So, this is the back.
And we're doing playtesting. I want to actually, we'll create a character online with the playtest. When we get around to...
This is where I'm seeing stuff. We've got character appearance. We've got stuff for early childhood environment. We've got adolescent experiences, pivotal moments, occupation, and then additional traits and features which we're used to. Short-term goals, long-term goals, party goals, secrets, connections, backpack storage. So I think this is... It looks like a standard character sheet that just allows for more background stuff.
So one of the things that's happening with the 2024 is the character sheet is changing.
Yeah.
And so the real question is, how useful is a 2014 character sheet in 2024? Can you stick with the 2014 character sheets and not ever bother to use a 2024 character sheet? Can this product doesn't need to be adapted or upgraded to the 2024 concepts?
So from one of the things that I've been seeing, because I've been trying to follow a lot of the 2024 stuff, is it is very much backwards incompatible. So I genuinely feel like the 2014 character sheets will be able to work for 2024.
Okay. And so a life well lived character sheet
should be able to, but until we test it, we won't know.
Right. And I want to do this twice.
Yeah.
It all actually depends on when we get the player's handbook.
Yeah.
Because we may create a character with the 2014 rules and then make a character with the 2024 rules. Or if we get the player's handbook first, we'll just make a 2024 character using these rules.
We may be able to compare and contrast, trying to make the same character in 2024 and 2014.
We should do that.
Yeah. And then use the life well lived in both.
Yep. That sounds like a plan. It's one of our things to do. Yeah. Will we get to actually play that character? Of course we will. We'll use it in one of the other upcoming 5th edition play tests of another game or a system.
Next up, we have Falling Stars.
What is that?
A role-playing and tactical game system, beginner game from Lock and Loaded Publishing. It is... let's see here.
It's a science fiction RPG. This is the beginner's game. Now, we do have... really quick before we do this.
Yeah.
Uncharted Journeys is from the same group that's doing A Life Well Lived. I have the PDF, but I don't have the physical copy of Uncharted Journeys, which is the travel version like tour.
Okay.
So I want to see that. Now I got this at a great price. It was on sale.
Okay.
For a ridiculously low price, and I'm beginning to have fear that this may be discontinued.
Uh-oh.
And I like to have things that are still available. So right now, technically, it's still available. How long it's going to be available, I don't know.
And that could be problematic when it comes to accessibility.
Okay. I'm going to take the box, hold it up like this, so I can read you some of the back stuff.
Okay.
It's Falling Stars, role-playing tactical game system. Falling Stars is a role-playing tactical game of political and military conflict unfolding amidst an alien intervention. 50 years after first contact, the human race is beset by deadly machinations of several human factions As they struggle to extend their reach into the greater galaxy, a mysterious alien race has emerged whose ultimate intentions are as obscure as their origin. Well, this sounds like by the guy who wrote Player One, Ready Player One. He did one called Armada, First Contact with the Aliens and stuff like that. But also, it sounds
This is a massive map.
a little bit like The Expanse.
Yeah.
Direct future of the species among the stars, and only you can determine the outcome. Box contains everything you need to learn the basic mechanics of falling stars, including beginner's game rules, 8 pre-generated characters, the first chapter of an ongoing sci-fi adventure campaign into the long dark night, 1-inch counters, and full-color printed maps for the adventures design, either 28mm miniatures or the included 1-inch counters. So we'll get to see all that stuff. We'll go ahead and put this down as you're digging things out.
Yeah, that's a second map that I'm showing.
Well, why don't you open it up a little further?
This thing is massive.
Yeah. How have you opened up the other one completely?
Yeah, I did. It couldn't
Okay.
fit on screen.
So these are full poster-sized maps. This is Doc, apparently.
Yeah.
And this is good, thick materials.
Nothing on the back.
I don't think you can write on it. They are single-sided.
Yeah.
I would use a piece of plexiglass for 2 reasons. You can put it on there and it holds the map smooth and flat. And the second reason is then you can use dry erase or red erase markers on the plexiglass
Yeah.
if you want to. It makes it a little easier. So how many maps we have so far? 2, and this
so far
looks like a
2.
third one.
Let me just. There we go.
Flip the stack.
Flip the stack. There we go. That is a. Looks like we've got 4 maps.
4 maps, all just as huge as the others.
Yeah.
And I don't think we need to open them up all the way anymore, but holy cow, these things are big.
Yeah.
1-inch squares. And obviously can be used in any sci-fi related system. You can use them for Star Wars. You can use them for Spelljammer. No, not Spelljammer.
I could use that for Spelljammer.
Sure you could, but it'd be better for Starfinder,
Yeah.
where they got that more. Or you can use it for a regular Dungeons and Dragons game in Mechas.
Yeah. Oh, there we go. Because, I believe I've told you that I feel like Spelljammer, should just be, Spelljammer and Planescape. It's basically the difference between are you out in a, on a ship or are you on a space station?
Right.
Astral Sea.
Yeah. I agree with you. Spelljammer and Sigil,
Yeah.
which is Planescape, I think they complement each other very well. Of course, all the other settings also get to fit in those things.
Yeah.
It all depends on the story you want to tell. The upcoming, well, not upcoming because I already have the book. The
We've
Vecna
got
book
character sheets.
takes you all through there. Okay, and
Character folders.
these are stiff.
Yeah, they're a bit stiff.
You're going to be wanting to write on those with maybe dry erase or something? Or a
Maybe.
thin vis-a-vis?
Honestly, you know what I'd do? I would photocopy these and use this as the folders for them.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
Or you could use, maybe you can go to the website and print it out. The Falling Stars website. I'll
Then
take
we've got
a
some
quick
quick
look.
references.
Yeah, it is on sale right now for from the Lock and Loaded publishing site for $29.99. But I got it from Miniature Market for much cheaper. And it does says here X discontinued products, X pre-orders, Falling Star.
Oh, so this is going out of print?
Oh, if that tag category discontinued products means anything.
Oh, no.
additional information. Got the description here for that. Explore the galaxy, battle new foes, unmaxed unknown enemies, forge mankind's destiny. Gotta wait. It's got no reviews. Do they have any download stuff for you?
Sorry about that.
Store. So what else you got there?
We had a whole bunch of character sheets, some quick reference tools.
Okay, so that's a reference. Oh, that's for like psionics and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. That's one of the elements
That's
there.
AI computer. So we've got rules for AIs and psionics. I'm guessing this is additional stuff for that. So it looks like just a whole bunch of characters and quick references. I've been showing them off. They didn't really organize them all that well, but just
They have map packs that look like the maps, at least in the picture.
and then you've got the little punch outs.
Yeah, at the site they have some map packs, but they look a lot like the maps that we got in this set.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that's for people who didn't buy the starter set and bought the actual rules. There's a map pack 2. There's a Falling Stars War of Empires, Falling Stars Into the Dark Knight Adventure, and that's it at their website. I don't see a game or and by a game I mean like the final rules.
It looks like it's a 2D10 system with black and white dice with no special symbols.
Okay.
So that will help with the ease of understanding. But I mean, it looks like everything is here. I mean, it looks like
Well, of course it's all there.
It looks like a comprehensive system. You got character sheets, quick rules, some additional rules for AI and psionics, it seems. Although that may be connected to a character sheet.
Yeah, I got from Miniature Market, miniaturemarket.com, and you search Falling Star, you get the RPG Beginner's Game, and they're selling it for $8, which is what I paid for it.
That is a steal.
Which is why I went and grabbed it. And now that I've looked at the original Falling Star website, I'm worried that it is going out of business, or at least it's being discontinued.
That is a shame, because I've seen some really good ideas that they just didn't get the marketing that they needed, and they fell into obscurity.
Yeah, this might be one of those.
Maybe one of those things where we tend to not to support game or use games in the community that are discontinued, but there may be ideas in it that we can find the transfer into other games.
It is also available on Drive-Thru RPG if you want a PDF version, which definitely means printable character sheets.
I mean, that does help with the longevity.
Yeah. And sometimes you can get these things print on demand. But this is a zip file. You got map packs, Gathering at Midnight, Adventure map pack. Oh, that's not at Falling Stars.
So the next item we have, I think, is from Alice is Missing.
Yes. Now, Alice is Missing. This is a twofer. So we have Alice is Missing, the original game.
Yeah, this is the original game.
Yeah, and we got that. We did an unboxing of that once before.
Yeah.
This is an original game, and by that I mean it's not like a lot of the other games you've ever played. It is supposed to be played on text.
On text?
Yeah, you're supposed to grab your phone and set up a text group message and things, and text to each other what you're doing, because you're going to be physically, or not physically, you're going to be separated in game.
So this may be a codifying of possible rules for role play over text.
Yes.
Interesting. because I know that a lot of people have done that before. For those who know, you know, if you know, I have been a member of Gaia.
Right.
Yeah, with a whole lot of text to, role play over text. And
Right. Well, there's been a lot, there's a lot of things, but this is the first one that's designed to be played on your phone through text messages.
Yeah. Ooh, that's an interesting slide. There we go.
And by the way, Falling Star's first look was this 2017.
Okay. Ooh, that looks interesting. That's very cinematic.
Okay, that's welcome back to Silent Falls.
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the original game there, and this is the expansion that I just got from
Oh, we're still
Kickstarter.
opening those.
I'm just going to show you where the rule book looks like.
Okay.
So you got a rule book, and you've got cards, and that's everything that's in this game.
Rulebook and cards.
Rule book and cards. Alice is Missing Silent Falls is an expansion to the award-winning silent role-playing game Alice is Missing. You're not supposed to talk while you're playing this game out loud. This expansion includes new suspects, locations, events, and more to provide fresh new experience that deepens the mystery surrounding the disappearance of Alice Briarwood. The core game set is required to play this expansion. The mechanical components remain the same and still played in a single session without the need for a game master.
Okay. So I'm guessing randomness.
We have one rule book and one deck of 46 cards, and that is what's in there.
And this is the expansion.
Yep, that's what I just read for the expansion.
So I'm guessing more possibilities.
Right, more people to be concerned about.
Yeah.
Again, we like the artwork.
Oh, I think this is some beautiful artwork.
Now, if you had actually done the Kickstarter for Alice is Missing Silent Falls, there were so many things that you could have added that just were not my budget.
We've got another mini rulebook.
And I think you still have to have the first rule book.
Yeah.
And then those are expanded rules. And then we got more cards for different people and things like that. I can't wait to do a play test of this. But we're going to have to figure out a way to do this so that the audience can see the messages, because we're not supposed to be talking during the game.
Yeah, that is going to be a big hamper.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's interesting, but when it comes to presenting that online, what's the word? Dead air is bad air?
Yeah, we'll suffocate on dead air.
Yeah. And having a game that is primarily silent, well, let's just say that mimes have a bad reputation. Yeah. But, I mean, I love just the ambiance that they're doing this. I'm just how should I put this? I'm geeking out about just the ambiance of the box. This is some wonderful ambiance. I love the colors. It looks mysterious.
Here's some of the neat things that you could have gotten if you were one of the wealthy people who decided that they want to get everything.
Uh-huh.
So look here, going to the campaign. All right.
One of the beautiful people.
Yes, one of the beautiful people here. Silence is of different kinds and breadth, different meanings.
Uh-huh.
To give an example of the text message coming, what comes with expansion: character cards, relationship cards, suspect cards, location cards, searching cards, and clue cards.
Yeah.
But now we have the Keepsake experience. Exclusive Kickstarter, Silent Falls Keepsake experience offers handcrafted set of unique, never to be made again memorabilia and ephemera. This is why, my FOMO just ringing out the doors.
FOMO is fear of missing out.
Yeah. So we have things like notes to pass back and forth, all the little things, tier 3, something to remember by.
Uh-huh.
So there are photos, notes. Let's see if I can pop this up. Nope. There's a keepsake box.
Nice.
And all of things that... so So let's go here to the.
So it's like just like really premium everything.
Well, it's $250
Ow, ouch.
for the
ouch.
memory box, made for collectors of all previous rewards in one of each keepsake set in an engraved wooden memory box from Alice's closet that is exclusive to the Ride or Die tier. Notes: this does not include shipping. Shipping will be done later. Exclusive digital search cards, pictures, pledge levels. So you get all the. I came in at the resident level, got a physical copy of the expansion for $20, but there's the friend, which is physical and digital expansion, plus the Ride or Die, which comes with all the toys, missing posters, cantrip candles, crossover, Alice's missing playmat, Alice's missing Silent Follows Discord, Silent Falls t-shirt. There's add-ons, exclusive searching cards, core Alice's Missing RPG. That's an add-on.
Yeah.
$40 backpack.
So basically, they're giving you like all the props for
Yes.
this game. So that
I would have loved to pay the extra.
$240.
Well, I would have loved to have just got the $40 playmat.
Yeah, that actually reminds me. I have this idea, and I'm gonna just put it out on the internet for anyone who is going to come to our little corner and hear this. This is free inspiration for anyone who wants to make out as much money as you can from this. But I have this idea of, you know how the original Dracula was written, where it was more a series of notes and articles and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that style of writing, the Call of Cthulhu.
There are some books out there. There's some role-playing games out there. But yes.
A novel that way, and I also want purposefully about, I want to say with maybe 10 pages left, the writing ends and there's just a blood splatter.
Okay. I hate to tell you, your idea has been done.
But it has been done well.
No, it was done better than well.
How was it done?
It was done it's called the Mysterious Package. And they did do a Call of Cthulhu. The first thing you got was a physical artifact with a mysterious letter, and as time goes by, you get more and more of the game slash. So this was like a monthly thing or.
Oh no, I was thinking a novel, just like someone can go to this.
No, this was a living novel.
Oh yeah.
Where you got it all through correspondence, and you kind of played the game as you were receiving physical product constantly. So that's one of the best ones.
I mean, I think the game aspect is amazing. I just want a novel that puts you through that. Like one book, some random person's like, "Oh, that looks like an interesting Call of Cthulhu." Yeah, I like Call of Cthulhu, and then they get like Dracula meets Call of Cthulhu with a cliffhanger ending because it seems like the author has been murdered.
Yeah, I would like to see that too. I like the books where they have all the letters and fold outs and the little props and stuff. I have several of those kind of books. Call of Cthulhu with newspaper clippings and letters and pieces of text, or maybe even a little like, go to this webpage to hear this sound. We have just a few minutes left in our show.
Yeah.
I mean, we're playing till 9.
Yeah.
But we do have one more box to open.
Oh, yes, we do.
Now, I know that it may seem like we rush through all these products and you only get to see it because we really want to dig deep into them when we do the play test coming out on Wednesdays. We will tell you when that's going to happen as soon as our tech and our other things that we need to do.
All the obstacles that we're working with.
You got to have the right number of players for each show. So we have some more planning and stuff to do, but we will be doing that soon-ish.
Honestly, I feel like we've gotten through this not necessarily because we are rushing, because if we didn't get time to this...
You're showing my info.
I'm so sorry.
Okay, so this comes in a nice plastic bag, which is good because it's weather controlled. The other box doesn't come in a bag and tends to get beat up a little more by the postman. I don't know why. That thing is, I think that's an advertisement. Yeah, it's just an advertisement for the upcoming Kickstarter which is Monster Trainer's Handbook, which is like Pokemon, but with D&D monsters and different changings of things. All right, this box has cardboard in it.
Yes, we do. And stuff that your cat wants.
Yep, my cat wants the paper.
So
Gets that.
This paper is a nice crinkly feel. We have a white box.
Is that an actual box?
Yeah, it's an actual box.
Okay, well, it was on top, right?
Yeah, it was on top.
So let's open it up and discover what it is. Now, Wondrous One-Shots are just what it sounds like. They are one-shot adventures, and they come with maps, minis, and sometimes 3D props or other
this
things.
is stuck in there.
And it's not designed to be a continuous story. They do have, the same company does have things for a continuous campaign. What do we, okay, we got a little... That's a remote control. Why do I have a remote control in this?
And it looks like they've some things on the back.
LED lights?
I think so. This is nifty. It's also an aesthetic cling package, so I'm not going to mess with that anymore.
Okay.
You'll explore that at your own leisure.
Well, and hopefully, eventually, we will do a Wondrous One-Shot on it.
So that is more than I was expecting.
I this is the first electronic device I've ever gotten my Wondrous One-Shot.
Yeah.
It is a monthly crate.
Random.
Go to wondrousoneshots.com to check it out. This is not actually random. You can find a little bit about what the stories are at what the next one is going to be, but you won't see all the details.
Mm-hmm. And these are always just really, really well made. They feel wonderful. It looks nice and heavy, and like they'll stand up.
Yeah, these are skinny minis. As opposed to Arc Knight minis, but
they're have to call it a control card,
which
again,
is always
a Cthulhu.
A mind eater.
Mind eater.
If you don't mind, it'll eat.
This has to do with the
lights.
The lights.
Oh, we're going to set something up here that's going to be 3D and lit up.
I don't know if it's going to be 3D, but I'm also, unless the instructions on what's going on is in here,
well,
it's
it would be
case of the witch's will.
Right. Those look like summoning circles you have right there.
Yes. Let me show you that.
Now, I'm guessing, purely guessing, that the lights are for the summoning circles.
Yeah. This looks like something that would be absolutely amazing with some, dry ice and a Halloween game.
Oh yeah.
This sounds like the perfect hint, nudge, nudge.
Well, we'll see what now. Traditionally, we do a Cthulhu game on Halloween.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean we can't do other Halloween-esque games on Halloween or any other time of the year.
And we have a map. Nice little map.
This is one of my favorite things because I will reuse these maps for all kinds of scenarios. I have a collection of maps going back years, and I usually can find one so I don't have to draw maps. Others are just too specific not to draw them.
Yeah, I feel like this would be, from what I'm seeing, a wonderful map for if you're playing Curse of Strahd and they decide to go into the house next to the dead house.
Sure, why not?
We've got the case of the witch's will.
By the way, I can't wait to do my 3D versions of Curse of Strahd with their 3D printed buildings and map works. It's going to be beautiful, but it takes time. I've already bought all the STLs. I just need to have the time to print these out and run a full Curse of Strahd.
So we've got a whodunit. Which witch murdered Marilla Nashhart? Your party has tasked with solving the murder of a former adventurer before her fortune is consumed by hellfire. Will they be able to identify the true culprit among the cast of shady characters, or will this mystery spell their demise as well? There's a bunch of puns here. This wondrous one-shot is intended to be played as a standalone adventure compatible with 5th edition. Use the adventure maps for Nash Hart Manor's first and second floors to run the adventure presented in this one-shot.
3 shadow demons,
Yep.
3 witches, Casilda Umber, Astra Darkmoon, and Medeala Rouge. There is a Guile demon, which looks like a 5th edition particular demon with 4 arms. Copyright name check. And Spectral Dragon. So like a ghost dragon.
Ooh.
That's going to be fun. Does there say anything in there about how we're supposed to do these summoning circles? I have my guess is that you just take these corners here.
In my quick flip, it looks like an adventure. I'm looking for anything that specifically says the for that, and I'm not seeing it.
Okay, well, I see slime. I see magical auras. I see ghosts here. I'm assuming that this is the base.
Yeah.
You put the base down, put this here, and then these things there, and you put the color stuff underneath there. But I really would like to have some instructions on how to do this, so I do it right the first time.
Yeah, and I'm afraid to mess with this. So I do know that this is probably going to go with this, so I'm going to build out.
Let me see that, because I want to. No, not that part. I want to take a look closer at this, because maybe there's something that gives me a better clue. I see 2 LEDs.
Yeah.
And a remote control. I see that that's obviously get put together. I do not know what these tabs are for.
They're probably going to go with this.
Well, yeah, but how? Why?
My experience with that is I think it's to stop the, save the battery.
Huh.
Yeah.
I don't even know if this comes with a battery.
Yeah, there's 2 batteries in each.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm seeing them.
So I'm assuming there's batteries in the remote.
Yeah. No, there's also batteries in the lights.
Right, there's batteries in the lights and the remote.
Yeah. So
I'm going to build one of these. And maybe I'll find on the website or somewhere where they talk about it.
yeah, this looks fancy.
We'll have to see that later, and we will put a full light up version later. Anybody who's watching and wants to, show me theirs and how it got set up and stuff, that would be great.
We'd appreciate that.
We'd post it here if you gave us permission to. Also, tell us your ideas. Go to info@rpgresearch.com. Email us there. Use the keyword talk show in the subject line so that I will notice it's for the show and not for standard business things.
Or spam.
Or spam, yeah. That's the best way to tell us that you're not doing spam is by not spamming us.
Yeah.
Is that too much to ask? Come on.
Sometimes.
Okay. Now, I'm not sure. We got a glossy and a matte side of these. And I'm not sure if the glossy side should be up or the matte side should be up. I mean, they look the same, but there's, it's glossy versus matte.
I guess it depends on what your table needs. There's a glossy side. There's a matte side.
Okay, let's try matte side up.
Okay.
So put that down, matte side up, and then we're going to put these in, which is coming out a little harder. Again, put the matte side out.
Yeah.
And the sprues are breaking, but that's okay. You don't save the sprues anyways, unless you're doing one of those things where you post the sprues online and have people try to guess what you built.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, in the board game groups, you know, that they're just doing board games, they will pop out all the sprues and then they will just show you the empty container, which that's called the sprues. And then they will ask people to guess what board game they just did. And this one, unfortunately, fortunately, it hasn't damaged, but as I break things out, it does break the sprue base all up. Okay, so there you go.
I'm just building one.
Yep. Well, everything's going to be a variant.
Yeah.
So there's really only one to have at a time. Why don't you put the ghost face on there? The one that's summoning all the ghosts.
Okay.
And we're going to put our lights inside there. No. That's the top.
That's the top?
Right.
Oh. Oh. Okay.
And there you have your summoning circle. Or altar, or whatever. The well of darkness.
Oh, and then they switch out.
Right. Depending on... So it can be used for more than one role-playing game.
Yeah. Okay.
Now, honestly, since I just got this, I don't know which one is the one for the actual module, and which one is which ones are for you further use.
Yeah.
In different things. I just ran a module where I wish I actually had this, because there was a well, and at the bottom of the well is all these bones and stuff, but it was this scale, and that would have looked beautiful.
That would have been beautiful.
And yep, you can store them all by putting them on top like that. That's cool.
Okay.
And I can just imagine what that looks like lit up.
Oh, absolutely. I can also imagine that, and you know, some nice ambiance with the dry ice. So, your cat's box is back in there,
Right.
and we will be wrapping up soon.
So, just a reminder, RPG Research is a 501c3 nonprofit. You can make donations of products that you want us to test or just to add to the library. If you think of historical value, send it to us. We have a museum that we will be putting everything on display. This museum is not a Dungeons and Dragons museum, which there are a couple of.
It's an RPG museum.
So all RPGs are open to be put into the museum. All we've had people put books, articles on role-playing games.
We're planning on trying to get the stamps in there too.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we're going to be doing a lot of that stuff for our museum coming up when we get to open that up to public. And that opening up to the public is going to depend on whether or not we get to keep this building, or we're just going to have to wait again.
Yeah, we'll have to wait again. But you know, we've been through tough times before. We'll get through again.
Yep.
Yep.
You know, it was that we're actually because we went from a spend through of $5,000 a year to $5,000 a month once we got a building. And the objective of the building was to bring in grants, and then it didn't really work out as well as we thought. I'm making one last effort to get grants to keep the place open. But if by December we doesn't look like we're going to do it, we're going to be moving out and working out of our trailers in the basement.
Yeah.
Not trailers in the basement, but we have two trailers, a bus, and we have a basement that we will be broadcasting out of again.
Yeah, and I believe Hawk has mentioned that he's working on building some structures so that we have a bit more space.
Yeah, for storage, more game playing stuff. Because, you know, he doesn't really want us in his house.
Yeah, it can be problematic. Yeah.
All right.
So, thank you for being with us today at RPG Research's talk show, the RPG Talk Show. We try to broadcast every week, Monday
at 6 p.m. Pacific time.
To 9.
And if you want us to talk about particular things, let us know.
Yeah.
If you have any kind of feedback, let us know. But tell your friends, get everybody here to watch our show. And last thing I always say is good night and dream well.
And have a good night. Next week we're talking about exploration.
Exploration. We're still
Exploration
on
next
the
week.
3.5 pillars of gaming, and we're going to talk specifically about exploration, and I will try to keep them reined into 2 shows.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.